Welcome to Business Horizons, the podcast produced by NBSO Lyon, where we bring together the Netherlands and Southeast France. As we close out 2025, we are diving deep today into one of our region's most dynamic industries, gaming. Joining me today, Wouter van Vugt. His colleagues are named Pac-Man, Naruto, and Dragon Ball Z. Wout is the communications leader and senior director at Bandai Namco Entertainment Europe. Based in Lyon, he oversees communication, PR, esports, and community engagement across the EMEA region. We'll explore Lyon's role as a hub for gaming and creative industries, what international entrepreneurs can learn from it, and the exciting future ahead from its fast-moving sector. So, hi, Wout.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, Wout, you're Dutch, but you have lived in Lyon for several years. What brought your career in France?
So, as usually it goes, it's friends, right? So I knew someone who told me about the job opportunity in Lyon. And then my current boss gave me a call while I was on holiday traveling somewhere far away. And he then convinced me to come to Lyon because it's one of the best places to be. And after 7 years, I'm still here. So he must have said something right.
Have you done all your career in the gaming industry?
Yes, I started in gaming in 2002. So I've been there for over 23 years now.
Okay. So what it's like to work in Lyon's creative and gaming industry as a Dutch professional?
It's first of all, I love Lyon, right? So it's definitely risen in my best cities in the world, kind of top 10 quite quickly. It's not yet number one, but as soon as Olympique Lyon wins, then maybe then we can
number
talk
two.
Again. Yeah, but for me, like working in Lyon is like I love the people here, and again I'll talk about people quite a lot in this session, I think, because for me the people in Lyon are very welcoming. They really made me feel at home. Like as soon as I got to Lyon, and this is just before COVID, and then I was here alone. I don't know many people in Lyon, but even through COVID, there was a lot of connections that I've made, and the connections that remained as well. So it's definitely the people that make me feel at home. That's why I love Lyon as much as I do.
Okay. Can you explain us Bandai Namco Entertainment Europe's role in Lyon? Why is this city so strategic for the company?
So I think the position of Lyon is very strategic because it's very central in EMEA. That's the first point. Now, the story of why Bandai Namco Entertainment Europe has its European or EMEA headquarters in Lyon is a bit of a longer story. In the 90s, there was a very smart man here in Lyon who thought, I should sell video games. And he set up his own company called Infogram. And that slowly grew out to like a big player in European distribution.
Yeah, with Atari.
Yes, exactly. They then changed into Atari. But at that point in time, there was a Japanese company called Bandai and a Japanese company called Namco. They merged together in 2006. And in 2008, they were like, we need to expand in Europe and EMEA. Who could do this the best for us? And then they acquired the distribution arm of Atari that was based in Lyon. So when Bandai Namco came to Lyon, they were still sitting in the Quai de Vaz, in the docks where Bandai Namco Entertainment Europe is based now. We're now in a different building, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
Okay. So what does it mean for you to lead communications and community engagement for all the MEA from this base? What is exactly your job now?
So my job, and I'll explain a little bit what the job of my team is as well, because I'm not doing any of the work. It's my team. I do a little bit maybe. But so my team is in charge of making sure that all our local entities have all the information that they need from all our regional entities, so from Japan mainly, to be able to connect with our fans. So to have direct one-on-one conversations with our fans, or talk to influencers and content creators who talk to our fans, or traditional media who talks to our fans, or set up events where we welcome our fans to come play our games. And even to a customer service where we actually help fans with the problems that they might have with any of our products.
Okay. So the Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes region is very known for its strong creative industries. What makes Lyon stand out as a gaming center compared to any other European hubs?
So without pushing the competition, but there's some very talented developers in Lyon. I think one of the big developers that is owned by Microsoft is based here, which and they're making fantastic games. But I think from a strategic perspective, again, Lyon and Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes, I think it's super attractive for creative talent to move to as well, because you're an hour and a half away from the Alps and a few hours away from the Mediterranean, and it's the gastronomical capital of the world. Where else do you want to be, right? So I think that attracts a certain type of people, and also maybe people who we've all done the big cities, and we've all done the Paris, the Londons, the Amsterdams in some cases, and I think not being in a major capital, it really has its qualities, and I think especially when it comes to quality of life and finding some peace between all the rush is quite nice.
Yeah. But it's not only the quality of life. There's a huge gaming ecosystem in Lyon. So which part of this ecosystem are most valuable, like publishers, indie studios, esports association, or local talents and schools?
I think it comes down to the people again, right? Most of the people who are working at Bandai Namco Entertainment Europe are actually from Lyon. Here and there's people that they find, like myself, they found me in London. I've got 2 or 3 people in my team who we found in Paris and who were very keen to move to Lyon. But I think overall, at least 3/4, maybe even more of our staff is from Lyon. And they all share the same passion for gaming, for anime and manga, and for being creative. And I think that's very specific for this area, and why there's so many gaming companies here.
Yeah, can you talk about a bit about the local ecosystem?
The local ecosystem, because my role is very much a central EMEA role, it's very difficult for me to go into that. My boss would be a much better spokesperson, because he's been living here for quite a while. But we are, as Bandai Namco Entertainment Europe, are part of the Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes Video Game Association, and we obviously work with the larger cell in France as well.
Okay. So how can Dutch entrepreneurs or companies in gaming, esports, or creative tech connect with this ecosystem?
Well, first of all, one of the biggest publishers and distributors of EMEA is based in Lyon, so that's a very good reason to connect with us at Bandai Namco Entertainment Europe. But I think there's some really good infrastructure in Lyon as well. I think there's a lot of grassroots esports companies, for example, but then you also have the LDLC Arena right next to the beautiful stadium here in Lyon, which is a very good venue when it comes to the larger esports tournaments. For the rest, I think it's a very good question, but I would counterpose that question for the people who ask it, say why not?
So the Dutch gaming sector is very dynamic, but smaller than in France. So what could Dutch stakeholders learn from Lyon's ecosystem?
That's a very, very, very good question. I need to think about that for a little bit. But for me, I haven't lived in the Netherlands since 2007, and the gaming industry back then was actually a little bit bigger than it is now in the Netherlands. We at that point still had a publisher sitting in the Netherlands, and but at the moment we have only 1 or 2 kind of larger developers, and the rest is very kind of indie in that landscape. And I think what I think the Dutch industry can learn is to also look to France and see what the independent developers in France are doing. French developers, I think, in the last 10 years had so much success. And I'm not talking about the larger publishers like Ubisoft. I'm talking Sandfall Interactive, who had a fantastic game this year with Expedition 33, which the concert is happening, or has happened already when this is airing, which is very exciting, which is happening in Lyon. Again, you have everything you need here. But I think really looking at developers from independent developers in France, they're really setting a standard for the industry, and that's because they tap into the right talent and they use the right inspiration to create their content.
Okay, so there's a creative atmosphere here.
Yes, and again, I'm going to say this, I'm going to go back to people a lot, like I mentioned before, but I think what French developers are doing really well is to actually listen to what the fans want and understand what their needs are and what their expectations are. And I think that's core for creating good content at the moment. Because if you're creating something for yourself, that's great. But if you're creating something that more people can enjoy and you can implement their feedback, I think that's crucial.
Okay. Esports and live events are evolving very fast. So do you see any opportunities for international collaboration in this sector?
Yes, a lot. Like this weekend actually was EVO in Nice, which is I think the world's largest fighting game esports tournament. This is the first time it happened in Europe, and they picked France and specifically Nice. And I was lucky enough to go there last weekend, and it was fantastic to hang out with the fans. But it's also really nice to be in Nice around this time of the year because it's not as touristy. The weather is still really good, so it was a fantastic weekend. But like seeing all the fans come together, and it's not just fans from France or from the area around Nice, but there was people from all over Europe and all over the world coming to Nice specifically for this. And I think that's a really good example about how these live events bring people together. And I think there's also kind of opportunities for kind of more grassroots approaches. I know there is quite a big esports event, a fighting game esports event in Lyon called the Mix Up, which is also incredible to attend. And again, there's people from all over Europe coming, not just from France or from the Lyon area. So,
and now, how important is the community engagement for gaming companies, and what lesson might entrepreneurs in other sectors draw from it?
Listen to your fans. That's like I can keep banging this drum, but for me, like it's super important, and this is where my team comes in. Within our company, my team kind of functions as the voice of the consumer. So we gather all the feedback coming from all the different touch points we have with our fans and try to package that up and bring that back to the developer and the creators of the game so that they can learn from it, but also improve the products that are currently in market.
Okay. And what is the impact that AI can have on the gaming industry today?
So I have to be a little bit careful talking about AI because I don't want to say anything that will bite me in the future. But I think that for the video game industry, which is a creative industry, I don't think we necessarily want artificial intelligence or Gen AI to create art for us, but I think it can help us create that art, right? I think Gen AI is a very good way for us to improve the processes that we have and make them go faster. But I don't think you'll ever be able to remove the human touch from what we do, because what we're doing in our creative industry is create these connections with our fans, and
can it help to be connected with your fans?
Nobody likes to talk to a robot, really. So, like, I think having that direct connection, or even like, I think so. I speak a few languages, right? But not everybody does. And I think, for example, if I'm going to an event in, let's say, Romania. My Romanian is really not as good as it used to be, so I might need some help with that. And I think that's where Gen AI can really help with these language models. But again, I think the key word here is help. It shouldn't take over the communication with the fans in Romania, but it can, help us to build that bridge.
Okay. So as a Dutch executive leading multicultural teams in France, what have you learned about leadership and cooperation, about cultures? How do you manage your team? So
I love my team. I have a very, very international team. Most of the video games in Europe historically were translated into EFIG, so English, French, Italian, Spanish, and German. And I've got all those languages represented on my team, which is quite nice. But I think more than 50% of my team is French, from Lyon, but also from Paris. And I find there is a very big difference working in the UK, where I previously led a team, to working in France. And I think it's hierarchy is a very interesting thing when moving to France, because I remember when I moved to Lyon first, and I was hired here as the communications director for Bandai Namco, and I was looking for a house, and then the lady who was showing me around to these different flats kept telling the owners that I'm a director and it was very important, and I'm like, but I'm not really important. That's just my title. That's not who I am. And I think in French culture, your title means more than it does, for example, in the UK or in the Netherlands, where there is a little bit less focus on your function, but more on your output.
Does it make it difficult to manage French people?
Yes and no. Sometimes, I'm lucky because I have a lovely team and they're all fantastic human beings and they don't cause many issues for me. So then it's easy. But I think, Dutch people are known for being very honest and direct. And I think my team had to get used to that a little bit because I think I can't speak for other managers that are French, but I think it's they take it a little bit more careful, I guess, when they give feedback. And us Dutchies, I think we're more direct when it comes to giving feedback to people, and we say it like it is. And it's something I had to adjust a little bit because I have been told that I am sometimes a little bit too recht voor zijn raap, or straight to the point.
Yeah. And how do you foster innovation in communications when you address these all multicultural things?
So the best part about having a multicultural team is that opinions can come from everywhere and good ideas can come from everywhere. And we're always trying to innovate the way we communicate about our games. But sometimes it's difficult because I work in a very large corporation and people are used to doing certain things a certain way, and they're not necessarily very happy to see this random Dutch guy coming from left field and pushing change. And this was also one of the struggles that I had when I first joined Bandai Namco. But luckily, the French and the Japanese both are very, very open to success. So when they see something working, they're very eager to then jump on board and forgive your directness, I guess.
Okay. Talking about a bit about the future, where do you see the biggest opportunities for gaming over the next 5 or 10 years?
I think fans. I'll come back to the fans again. So, for me, if you build good content and you want to make it great, you listen to your fans. And when you then release this great content, continue fostering the communities of fans and building upon what they are feeding you will create better experiences for everyone and therefore will grow the community. And I think the focus on communities is going to be super important in the future because, well, we all know the internet's not going away and there's more and more places and platforms for them to gather and discuss their opinions. And I think it's important for any kind of creator or creative industry to make sure that the fans are heard. And if we embrace that, I think the future looks very bright.
I guess so. So what role could Dutch entrepreneurs and creatives play, especially in collaboration with hubs like Lyon?
The cheesy answer is come and find out, right? I think people needs to come here and find out. And this is for me, it was one of the more difficult things to explain to people. People, when I moved here, was always like, why are you moving to Lyon? The only time I've been to Lyon is when I drove to the south of France and I just passed it. And that was the same for me. And then until I actually got to explore Lyon, which was when I had my first interview with Bandai Namco Entertainment, I stayed here for a few days because I wanted to see what the city was like. And I've eaten like a king for 3 days. And I think I've walked more than the city is super walkable as well. So, but for me, when you want to find business, there's a huge variety of businesses here as well. And I think NBSO is a very, very good at explaining all the different businesses that you have in Lyon. So I think talking to them is a very good start.
Okay. And what kind of advice you could give to Dutch entrepreneurs or creative who want to come to Lyon and go to the creative sector?
I would recommend them to not lose their Dutchness. Stay direct, stay straight to the point. You might hit a wall, but the wall also breaks down quicker when you stay true to yourself, I guess. And I think you also need to be open to people's ideas. And I think this is something that maybe not all Dutch people are very good at, is to listen to other people and to make sure that you embrace their ideas and their qualities. And I think that's true for any kind of creative industry where you really need to collaborate. And I think collaboration is key. And I think the people of Lyon and the surroundings are very good at that.
Okay. So we are at the end of this podcast. We have a special tradition here that our guest asks a question for the next guest without knowing who that guest will be. So our previous guest, Anna Garex, who works in the pharma industry, asked this question to you. What would you be your ideas to organize a very big event between the Netherlands and Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes in 2026?
So that's a very good question. I think it would be something about sports. I think the Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes region is very underestimated when it comes to their sports, especially Lyon. They've got a great football team here. Rugby is incredibly popular here, which might not be the case in the Netherlands. But I'm a big football fan, so I would probably invite.
So you're not talking about esports, right?
No, I am also a big esports fan, but maybe you can do a little bit of both. But I think sports brings people together, any form of entertainment or activity. So, and because there is and I wouldn't call it a rivalry because France always wins, but I think maybe football would be a very good start to get the people together, because both the people here as well as the people of the Netherlands love football. So,
okay, so what would be your question to our next guest for next year?
That's an even better question. So, I would like to ask, and again, I don't know who this person is going to be or what their job is, right? But for me, I would really like to know where they see the city of Lyon in the 30s. So in the further future.
Oh, thank you very much, Wout, for sharing your journey from the Netherlands to Lyon and your experience leading global communications at Bandai Namco Entertainment Europe. Your story shows how Lyon has grown into a European hub for gaming and creative industry, and why Dutch entrepreneurs should keep an eye on the opportunities here. And as you said, always listen to the people, always listen to the customer. So with this episode, we are wrapping up the 2025 season of Business Horizon. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and sharing these stories. We'll be back in 2026 with new voices, fresh insight, and more opportunities to explore together. Until then, thank you for being part of Business Horizons.